Turning 60 marks an important transition in your health journey, one where nutritional needs shift significantly. The body you have at 60 functions differently than the one you had at 40 or 50, with new vulnerabilities and requirements that, if ignored, can accelerate aging and increase disease risk. Today, we're addressing a critical yet often overlooked aspect of healthy aging: the specific nutritional deficiencies that commonly develop after age 60. What makes this topic so important is that these deficiencies often develop silently, years before more serious symptoms appear. According to the National Council on Aging, approximately 35% of adults over 60 have at least one significant nutrient deficiency, yet many remain completely unaware until health problems emerge. Even more concerning, research from Tufts University shows that addressing these deficiencies early in your 60s rather than waiting until your 70s or 80s can significantly influence your trajectory of health and independence. What I'll share today isn't about fad diets or the latest supplements. This is evidence-based information about specific nutrients that research shows become critically important after 60. By the end of this video, you'll understand which deficiencies pose the greatest risk, how to identify them, and most importantly, practical strategies to address them before they compromise your health. Whether you've just turned 60 or you're well into your 60s, this information could make the difference between a decade of vitality or one of increasing health challenges. Let's explore the most critical nutritional deficiencies that emerge after 60. 1. Vitamin B12, the energy and brain protector. As you enter your 60s, maintaining optimal B12 levels becomes increasingly challenging and critically important. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that up to 20% of adults over 60 have suboptimal B12 levels, a percentage that rises dramatically with each subsequent decade. Why B12 deficiency increases after 60? Around age 60, several physiological changes begin that affect B12 status. Stomach acid production starts to decline significantly, reducing your ability to extract B12 from food. Approximately 30% of people over 60 develop atrophic gastritis, which further impairs B12 absorption. Common medications that become more prevalent after 60: proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, metformin for diabetes management, and certain blood pressure medications can interfere with B12 absorption. What makes this deficiency particularly concerning is that many healthcare providers miss it, as the standard blood tests often don't detect B12 deficiency until it's quite advanced. The subtle early warning signs. B12 deficiency often presents with vague symptoms that are easily mistaken for normal aging: unexplained fatigue or lack of energy, slight memory lapses or brain fog, tingling or numbness in hands and feet, mood changes, including irritability or mild depression, difficulty maintaining balance. Research published in the Journal of the American Geriatrics Society found that addressing B12 deficiency in the early stages, typically in one's 60s, can prevent or significantly delay the more serious neurological complications that often develop when deficiency persists into the 70s and 80s. Evidence-based solutions. For adults over 60, maintaining optimal B12 levels typically requires a proactive approach. Consider routine B12 testing, asking specifically for methylmalonic acid, MMA, levels, which detect deficiency earlier than standard B12 blood tests. If you take medications known to affect B12 acid reducers, reduce metformin, etc., supplementation is often necessary regardless of diet. For most adults over 60, a daily supplement of 500 to 1,000 micrograms of B12, preferably the methylcobalamin form, provides insurance against declining levels. For those already showing signs of deficiency, higher doses or B12 injections may be necessary initially. Remember, B12 is water-soluble, so toxicity concerns are minimal even with higher supplemental doses, making it a safe nutrient to optimize. 2. Vitamin D, the critical hormone your body makes less of after 60. Vitamin D deficiency affects approximately 40% of adults in their 60s, according to research from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. This deficiency becomes particularly important after 60 due to its wide-ranging impact on health systems that become vulnerable with age. Age-related changes affecting vitamin D status. Several factors conspire to reduce vitamin D levels after age 60. The skin's ability to produce vitamin D from sunlight decreases by up to 30% compared to age 30. Kidney function naturally declines with age, reducing the conversion of vitamin D to its active form. Many adults become less active outdoors as they age. Increased body fat percentage, common after 60, can sequester vitamin D, making less available in circulation. Unlike some nutrients, where the RDA remains constant throughout adulthood, research indicates vitamin D needs actually increase after 60. Health implications beyond bone density. While most people associate vitamin D with bone health, emerging research highlights its crucial role in multiple systems that become vulnerable after 60. Immune function. A meta-analysis in the British Medical Journal showed that vitamin D supplementation reduced respiratory infection risk by 42% in older adults with deficiency muscle performance. Research from the Stop Falls clinical trial found that correcting vitamin D deficiency improved muscle strength and reduced fall risk in adults over 60 cognitive health. A large study in the Journals of Gerontology found that adults with optimal vitamin D levels experienced slower rates of cognitive decline. Cardiometabolic health. Research in the American Heart Journal demonstrated that achieving vitamin D sufficiency improved several cardiovascular risk markers in older adults. Practical optimization strategies. For adults over 60, maintaining optimal vitamin D status typically requires a multifaceted approach. Get baseline testing for 25-hydroxyvitamin D, with most experts recommending levels between 30 to 50 nanograms per milliliter, 75 to 125 nanomoles per liter. Most adults over 60 need supplementation between 1,000 to 2,000 IRU daily, but individual needs vary significantly. Vitamin D3 is more effective than D2 for raising levels in older adults. Combining vitamin D supplementation with vitamin K2 may offer additional benefits for cardiovascular and bone health. Periodic retesting every 6 to 12 months helps ensure optimal levels are maintained. For those with severe deficiency, higher doses under medical supervision may be necessary initially before transitioning to a maintenance dose. If you're finding this information valuable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We regularly share evidence-based health information specifically targeted to adults in their 60s and beyond. 3. Magnesium, the overlooked mineral essential after 60. While calcium often receives the spotlight in discussions about aging, research increasingly points to magnesium as perhaps the more critically important mineral after age 60. According to the World Health Organization, up to 60% of adults over 60 consume inadequate magnesium, making it one of the most common deficiencies in this age group. Why magnesium status declines after 60. Several age-related factors contribute to declining magnesium status. Decreased absorption efficiency in the digestive tract, increased magnesium excretion through the kidneys, especially with certain medications, reduced consumption of magnesium-rich foods, higher magnesium requirements due to chronic stress and inflammation that often increase with age. This decline is particularly concerning because magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, many of which become increasingly important for maintaining health after 60. Critical health functions dependent on magnesium. Emerging research highlights several ways in which optimal magnesium status particularly benefits adults over 60. Cardiovascular health. Research in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that optimal magnesium levels were associated with a 30% lower risk of cardiovascular disease, with the protective effect being most pronounced in adults over 60 blood sugar regulation. A meta-analysis in diabetes care demonstrated that magnesium supplementation improved insulin sensitivity and glycemic control, particularly in those showing early signs of insulin resistance. Sleep quality. Clinical trials have shown that magnesium supplementation improved sleep efficiency, duration, and reduced early morning awakening in older adults with insomnia. Muscle function and recovery. Adequate magnesium has been shown to reduce muscle cramps, improve recovery, and increase strength in older adults. Stress resilience. Optimal magnesium status helps regulate stress hormones and supports the body's ability to adapt to stressors, which become more challenging after 60 evidence-based optimization approaches. For adults over 60, maintaining optimal magnesium status typically requires focus on magnesium-rich foods like dark leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and legumes. Consider supplementation in the range of 200 to 400 milligrams daily. Choose highly bioavailable forms such as magnesium glycinate, malate, or citrate rather than oxide. Be aware that certain medications, including diuretics, proton pump inhibitors, and some antibiotics, can deplete magnesium. Note that excessive calcium supplementation without corresponding magnesium can create an imbalance that affects both minerals' function. For those with specific health concerns like arrhythmias, migraines, or muscle cramps, working with a healthcare provider to optimize magnesium status can be particularly beneficial. 4. Protein, preventing the muscle loss that begins in your 60s. While not technically a deficiency in the traditional sense, inadequate protein intake becomes a critical nutritional concern after 60. Research from the PROT Age Study Group indicates that up to 40% of adults over 60 consume insufficient protein to maintain muscle mass and support optimal health. The critical shift in protein needs after 60. Starting around age 60, several factors increase protein requirements. Anabolic resistance develops, meaning more protein is needed to stimulate muscle maintenance. Protein absorption and utilization efficiency decreases. The body's ability to recycle and reuse amino acids declines. Inflammatory processes that become more common with age increase protein turnover. These changes mean the protein intake that was sufficient in your 40s and 50s becomes inadequate in your 60s and beyond. The health implications of protein insufficiency. The consequences of inadequate protein intake after 60 extend far beyond just muscle. Accelerated sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, which research from the Foundation for the National Institutes of Health shows typically begins in the 60s, but accelerates in later decades. Reduced immune function and slower recovery from illness or injury, decreased bone density, and increased fracture risk, impaired wound healing and skin integrity, reduced production of enzymes, hormones, and other vital proteins. Perhaps most significantly, a landmark study in the Journals of Gerontology found that adults in their 60s with higher protein intake maintain better functional abilities and independence a decade later compared to those with lower intake. Evidence-based protein optimization. For adults over 60, maintaining optimal protein status typically requires increasing total protein intake to approximately 1.0 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight daily, higher for those who are very active. Distributing protein intake throughout the day with at least 25 to 30 grams per meal, ensuring protein quality by including complete protein sources rich in essential amino acids. For those with reduced appetite, consider protein-dense foods and beverages that deliver more protein in smaller volumes. Timing protein intake strategically around activity to maximize muscle maintenance. Research from the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences has shown that this approach to protein optimization can significantly slow the trajectory of muscle loss that typically accelerates with each decade after 60. 5. Omega-3 fatty acids, essential brain and heart protection. As you enter your 60s, the need for adequate omega-3 fatty acids becomes increasingly important for preserving brain function, heart health, and managing the inflammation that drives many age-related conditions. Research from Oregon State University found that over 70% of adults over 60 have suboptimal omega-3 status. Age-related factors affecting omega-3 status. Several factors make omega-3 status particularly important after 60. The protective effects of omega-3s against cardiovascular disease become more pronounced. With age, inflammation naturally increases after 60, creating a greater need for the anti-inflammatory effects of omega-3s. The brain's need for DHA, a specific omega-3, increases to support cognitive function and protect against decline. The ability to convert plant-based omega-3s, ALA, to the active forms, EPA and DHA, decreases with age. Critical health protection. After 60, evidence for the importance of omega-3 status after 60 is particularly strong. Cognitive function. A study from the Medical University of South Carolina found that adults with higher omega-3 levels had greater brain volume and better cognitive performance as they aged. Cardiovascular health. The Reduce It trial demonstrated that increasing EPA levels reduced cardiovascular events by 25%, with the greatest benefit seen in adults over 60. Joint health. Multiple studies have shown that optimizing omega-3 status reduces joint pain and inflammation, particularly in conditions like osteoarthritis that become more common after 60. Mood regulation. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that omega-3 supplementation reduced depressive symptoms in older adults, with effects comparable to some antidepressant medications. Practical optimization strategies. For adults over 60, achieving optimal omega-3 status typically involves increasing consumption of fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel to 2 to 3 times per week. For those who don't regularly consume fish, consider a high-quality supplement providing 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA daily. Look for supplements that have been third-party tested for purity and potency. Consider testing your omega-3 index with a target of 8% or higher for optimal protection. For vegetarians, algal DHA supplements can provide this crucial nutrient without consuming fish. Research suggests that optimizing omega-3 status in your 60s provides greater protection than waiting until health issues develop in later decades. 6. Vitamin B6, the overlooked B vitamin that becomes critical after 60. While less frequently discussed than B12, vitamin B6, pyridoxine, plays several crucial roles that become increasingly important after 60. Research from the Framingham Heart Study found that up to 30% of adults over 60 have insufficient B6 levels, with this percentage increasing with each subsequent decade. Why B6 requirements change after 60? Several age-related factors affect B6 status. Absorption efficiency decreases in the digestive tract. The conversion of B6 to its active form becomes less efficient. Increased inflammation and oxidative stress deplete B6 reserves. Many medications commonly prescribed after 60, including certain antihypertensives and acid reducers, can interfere with B6 metabolism. Critical functions dependent on B6 after 60. Optimal B6 status has been linked to several key aspects of health that become vulnerable after 60. Homocysteine regulation. B6 works with folate and B12 to keep homocysteine levels in check, with research in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology showing this becomes increasingly important for cardiovascular protection after 60. Immune function. Studies published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrate that B6 adequacy supports T-cell function and overall immune response, which naturally decline with age. Neurotransmitter production. B6 is essential for producing serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, neurotransmitters that regulate mood, sleep, and cognitive function. Inflammation management. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that optimal B6 levels were associated with lower inflammatory markers in older adults. Practical optimization approaches. For adults over 60, maintaining optimal B6 status typically involves increasing consumption of B6-rich foods, including poultry, fish, chickpeas, potatoes, and bananas. Consider a B-complex supplement that includes 25 to 50 milligrams of B6, particularly if you're taking medications known to deplete this nutrient. Be aware that very high doses, over 100 milligrams daily for extended periods, should be avoided unless medically supervised, as they may cause nerve issues in some individuals. If experiencing symptoms like irritability, depression, confusion, or skin issues, consider testing B6 status. Research indicates that optimizing B6 in your 60s provides significant protection for neurological and cardiovascular health in later decades. Conclusion: creating your nutritional defense strategy. After 60, we've covered 6 critical nutritional concerns that take on new importance after age 60. Vitamin B12, vitamin D, magnesium, protein, omega-3 fatty acids, and vitamin B6. What makes these particular nutrients so important is their far-reaching impact on the very systems that determine how well you'll function physically and mentally in the coming decades. The key insight from research on aging and nutrition is that addressing these nutritional vulnerabilities proactively in your 60s, before significant deficiencies develop, offers far greater protection than trying to correct problems later. This proactive approach creates what researchers call a nutritional reserve that helps buffer against the challenges that naturally occur with advancing age. Creating your personal nutrition plan. To protect your health after 60, consider this comprehensive approach. Baseline assessment. Work with a healthcare provider to test your current status for key nutrients, particularly vitamin D, B12, omega-3 index, and comprehensive metabolic markers including magnesium. Targeted optimization. Based on your results, develop a personalized plan that may include both dietary changes and strategic supplementation. Address medication interactions. Review your medications with a healthcare provider or pharmacist to identify any that may deplete specific nutrients and develop a plan to counter these effects. Focus on nutrient-dense foods. Center your diet around foods rich in the nutrients we've discussed: fatty fish, colorful vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, and high-quality proteins. Regular reassessment. Nutritional needs continue to evolve, so plan to reassess at regular intervals, particularly when health status or medications change. Remember, the goal isn't simply extending lifespan, but extending health span, the period of life spent in good health with full function and independence. The nutritional choices you make in your 60s play a profound role in determining whether your 70s and 80s will be characterized by vitality or disability. Thank you for watching this video on critical nutritional concerns after 60. If you found this information valuable, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. In the comments below, let us know which of these nutritional topics you'd like to learn more about in future videos. Until next time, wishing you optimal health and vitality for decades to come.